Welcome back to Every Other Carl. I'm Carl, and today I'm trimming the windows on my 10x16 shed. Window casing is the trim that covers the space between the window itself and the wall of the building. I'm doing a simplified window trim here on my shed build, but hopefully it's helpful or at least interesting. There are a lot of different materials to choose from when trimming your windows, including pre-made trimming kits. I wanted a super budget-friendly option that was still highly weather-resistant. I chose pressure-treated 1x4-inch boards for the casing and 1.5x4-inch boards for my window sills. These are already pretty cheap at Home Depot, and I found a bunch on the cull pile that made them 70% cheaper. The total cost came to about 17 cents per linear foot. That is hard to beat. Make sure you use galvanized nails and prime the wood before painting if you're using pressure-treated wood. Cutting your own casing properly is a lot of hard work, but it's worth it. With window casing, you want to make sure water always has a chance to shed away from the building as much as possible. Make sure water can't get behind the boards. If it does get behind the boards, make sure it has a way to get out. I started by cutting my window sill. I cut an angle into the top of the sill so that water will shed away from the window. Then I milled some of the back of the board away, leaving about a 1/4-inch lip at the top. This will tuck under my window. I chiseled out the ends of the lip so that the sill would fit snugly into place. Then I milled a small channel under the underside of the sill board that will serve as a drip cut so that water can drip directly to the ground from under the sill instead of wrapping up under and dribbling down the side of the siding. Then I cut my vertical casing boards with an angle at the bottom to match the angle of the sill. Then I used my router to notch the top front face of the vertical boards, creating a tongue that will tuck behind the header board at the top of the window and keep any water from getting behind the casing. I then cut my header board to the same length as the sill, and then used a router again to notch the back sides of the header to receive the tongue of the vertical boards. I then used primer to seal all the ends and cuts that I'd made to the boards. I then fastened all these pieces to the building with galvanized finish nails. I blunted the tips of the nails before using them. This trick keeps the nails from splitting the wood when you hammer them in. Once everything was in place, I used a spray primer and paint to seal the pressure-treated wood. Later, I decided that it was better to spray everything before nailing it up. This takes a little longer, but does a way better job. With everything painted, I could run caulking around the trim. I ran caulking around the outside and inside edges of the casing, as well as along the top of the header and the top of the sill. However, I left the underside of the header and the underside of the sill open without caulking so that if any water made its way behind the casing, it would be able to get out. I'm using a DAP exterior caulking. I'll leave a link in the description if you want more info. The next part of the process was to add a drip cap. This is a pre-cut piece of flashing that curves over the top of the window trim and works with the house wrap to keep water from getting behind the window header and shed it out over the window. I cut the drip cap to size and then bent the edges around the corners of the window header. I then cut the house wrap so that it would sit right over and in front of the drip cap and nailed the drip cap in with a few capped nails. I'll leave a link to the nails and house wrap I'm using in the description as well. With one window done, I just had to repeat the process 4 more times. This casing is not the primary water barrier for the windows. That job falls to the flashing tape. If you want to see the full window install and flashing process, that's in a previous video in this build series. I used Nashua brand flashing tape and spray foam. I'll leave links to those products as well. These windows have been in for several weeks now and have withstood some really big rainstorms with no problems. The pressure-treated wood is still holding the paint nicely, and no green color has seeped through. I'm pretty happy with this casing solution, given the super low cost. All right, the final window is done. Everything is done, has all the trim. And I could have just slapped it up there, nice and easy, just one piece, one on top and one on bottom. But I decided to go kind of all out, and I did what I think is a very good job here. The bottom sill here is beveled out at 8 degrees, and that has a matching cut on the side trim. So this is also beveled out 8 degrees so that any water that lands here is going to roll off the front. The back of this wood has a lip that goes in underneath the frame, the actual sill of the window. So it is tucked underneath there between the rough opening and the sill of the window. And then caulking run all the way around the inside edges, not on top. Didn't want to close off any potential water that gets back there from having to escape. Up the sides here, comes up to a routered joint here. Maybe you can see it on this side. So this is kind of opposing L's here. So any water that might come down the front side and make its way in that crack is not going to get to the back side of this side trim. Instead, it's going to hit that router joint there and come out. The top is caulked all the way under that drip edge, or that drip plate. The drip plate is hammered underneath the house wrap back here. So the house wrap shingles over the drip plate, and I hammered it in with capped nails, just like the house wrap. Everything here is, like I said, pressure treated wood. This is 1 inch by 4 inch pressure treated wood. This is actually decking boards. So it's about 1 and I'm not sure, 1.5, a little over 1 1/4. In any case, this is a very inexpensive way to trim out a window with wood that is not going to rot. It does have to be primed. I sprayed it with primer. I'll probably, before I paint it, spray it again. And also, this is actually most likely going to be painted black, so I wasn't too worried about any of the green chemical coming through the lumber. But that is one concern. But making sure that the lumber is really dry and then priming it well should stop any color seeping through. All right, the windows are all trimmed out. I'm very happy with how it turned out. It was incredibly inexpensive, and I think it's going to last a really long time and be really weather resistant. I'm glad I put that extra effort in to router the joints up at the top and to cut that angle into the top of the sill so water flows out and away from the window. If you have any comments or thoughts as to how I did these window trimmings, please leave it in the comment section below. Maybe you're a pro and you can help the next person out. In the next video, I'm going to be starting the vinyl siding install, so please subscribe if you want to see that. Otherwise, please like the video if you liked it. I'm Ever Other Carl, and until next time, I'll see ya.